Hello and welcome to another session in the Spark series. So in this session we will look at how we can pass set of columns to a data frame. So we are using the same bank transaction data. So what we have here is we have a simple code where we are printing the schema and then we are selecting few columns here and then we are printing them or showing them, right? So this is the output here. We have the print schema details. We also have the selected data here. So yeah, so no surprises here. So let me close this. Now let's assume that we have around 50 columns and then you want to select some 17 or 18 columns, right? So you apply a simple select statement, but after some lines of code, if you want to do some transformations and you want to display the same set of columns, then again you have to write the simple select column, select the data, and select the same columns, right? And one other thing is the columns, when you select the columns, right, it can be of any order. When you display it, it can be of any order. Some APIs, when you apply, the columns gets ordered in ascending order, and when you apply some other APIs, the column order does not change from the raw data. So if you want to give a specific order to the columns, you can do two things here. First, you can define the columns in a list. So whatever the order that you define in that list, the data will be retrieved in the same order. Now this list, we will have to map it to the data frame. So it will reorder the data frame in the order that is mentioned in the column list, right? Now other advantage with that is you can basically use that list, and if you want to select the same columns, so you can basically pass that list to any data frame, right? So here I'm using one data frame where I'm selecting this column, so I have to mention the column names, right? So if I do some transformations and I have another data frame, and if I want to select the same columns, I'll basically have to copy the same code here. So instead, you can basically pass the list and then it will map it to the data frame and it will retrieve the data. So this is a very useful feature, and we will also see how we can use this feature to read a fixed width file. So but that is something which is coming up later. But this is a very handy feature to have. So let's go ahead and achieve this, right? So we'll create a list here. So I'll say val list1, and you have to say list, and then here I'm gonna give the set of columns that I wanna get. So maybe I'll just copy the same set of columns here, right? Okay, so let me just comment this out. So I have the list here. Now you can create another data frame here. So let's say valdf1, and I'm going to read this data frame, and I'm going to say select. Now instead of passing these columns, what I can do is I can basically pass this list. So I'll say list1, and now I have to map this, right? Map this to the data frame. So I'm gonna say map, and this would be column because this I want to be treated as a column, and I will say this. So this means here is a list of columns. I want to map it to this data frame, and this basically means this number of columns or the number of arguments can be any number. So we are not limiting to 1 or 2, it can be any number, right? Fine. So we have this data map now, and if I do a simple show, so what will happen is this list, it will look at this list, these columns, so it will basically map these columns into this data frame, and if these columns are available in this data frame, it is going to retrieve this data for us, right? And if these columns are not available, then obviously you will see an error. So we will see that scenario as well. First, let me go ahead and execute this, right? So I'm not passing any column names in the select statement here again. So I'm just passing the list. So I have this list. So you can create as many lists as you want, and then you can map it to the data frame, right? So we have this data here. The program is now executed. Now if you look at this, right, the order hasn't changed: customer ID, transaction ID, customer account balance, gender. Now see, this order may change for some APIs but not for all the APIs. Now what happens if you have a column which is not part of this data frame, right? So let me say I will say customer gender 1. So this customer gender 1 is not part of this data frame, right? See, we don't have this customer gender 1, so it will try to map this into this, and if it finds it is not available, it is going to throw an error. So let's execute this, and we'll see what is the error here. So it is also important to understand what how the error, or what is the error that we get. So right, okay, so if you look at this, it says cannot resolve customer gender, and the good part is it will give you the list of input columns, right? It says, hey, you have customer ID, transaction type, customer gender, and transaction ID, transaction date, location, account balance, date of birth. We have transaction amount. We don't have this customer gender, so this is a good indication. So you can basically go and check, oh, these are the columns that are available, so I need to change this column to the one which is available. Save this and execute it, and you can have this data, right? All right, so this is what I wanted to cover in this, a very useful feature here. You can create the list of columns, and then you can pass that list and map it to the data frame, and that will be very useful in certain scenarios. So we'll also see one more scenario in the coming videos where we can use this concept, right? So I hope this session was clear, and I'll see you guys in my next class.